My name is Nia, also known as @bitnia, and I typically start my videos by welcoming and greeting the little gay people in my phone. Hello, little gay people. Thank you for being here. But today, as I'm sure you can well tell by the title, I am leaving my target audience. Welcome, straights. I appreciate your being here, but first we gotta lay some groundwork. This is Gay Channel. I am lesbian, and my analysis and praxis is not and never will be based in condemnation, but criticism that is first and foremost approaching this piece of media as a function, reflection, and symptom of our dominant culture. That is to say, if you're a It's Not That Deep warrior, honestly, you wouldn't have even clicked on the video. So you get it, I hope. The paradigm this show exists and functions within is intrinsically and intentionally placed within a hegemonic, patriarchal structure that I am fundamentally at odds with. And that is why I'm so obsessed with it. I find analyzing heterosexual dating norms totally fascinating because it's foreign to me. It's like Narnia or Arkansas. Recently, I finished my first video essay series, The Internet's Evilest Lesbians, where I revisited allegations of abuse that unfolded publicly between lesbian influencers, online personalities, and content creators, as well, and most notably, as the responses and narratives that emerged from the viewers watching these fallouts unfold in real time. But today, we're taking it back to the source of the issue, the straights. And there's no better place to start than the beautiful island of Fiji that is annually invaded by a collection of American influencers and ethically gray reality television producers, like it's the girly pop Olympics. I'm expanding on the internet's Evilest as a broader series because while I used abuse allegations in public-facing lesbian relationships as a vessel, the broader themes of the series, media literacy, social cognizance, and examining parasociality, are deeply culturally relevant in today's climate and potentially even more relevant in communities and for people that aren't queer. But y'all are just a lot harder to talk to for real. That being said, please go into this with an open mind. This season has sparked a mind-numbing amount of discourse and debate that could warrant thesis-level research to genuinely cover in its entirety. While I'm going to talk about some of the most talked about narratives that have emerged around this season's most popular islanders, I'm not that interested in adding my voice to the chorus of hot takes and psychoanalyses on strangers, because I think this season, more than any other, has proven that whatever the fuck they put on the Peacock app at 9 p.m. every night is just the basis. The real show, what makes it gripping, what makes it addicting, is the internet's response to it. It's you. And as this show, that's really a highly produced and marketed social experiment, grows in popularity and impact in the US, I find it integral to interrogate it. Especially because it's clearly spinning out of fucking control. And that's not on the Islanders, the producers, or Peacock.com. That's on us. Hello, gay. Quick pause from the video to put a little message in from our favorites at Bellesa. You know Bellesa by now. They are the #1 source for all things sexual wellness and also a woman-owned company. And they just dropped something I have never seen before. Y'all, meet the Whisper Collection, the world's first silent vibrators, which means you never have to choose between pleasure and discretion. Do you hear that? No, you don't. These toys are not only gorgeous, but powerful and also completely quiet. It's a great option for those looking to meet all their needs, but also keep it low key, you know? This is the Bullock, tiny, discreet, but with 5 speeds, it is undeniably powerful. This is the Whisper Vibe, quietest G-spot stimulation you will ever find. 6 speeds on this one, I think. Wow, that's crazy. This one's crazy. And finally, the Whisper Rabbit. This one is super cool because you can control the vibrations on this part and this part separately. And again, literally so quiet. They're super soft, they're waterproof, and they're rechargeable. But here's the best part. Anyone who signs up for my giveaway gets a free Whisper Vibe or Rose toy, which y'all know about these, with the purchase of any Whisper product. I'm sure y'all know the Rose viral for a reason. So click the link down below, sign up for my giveaway, get yourself a little free toy, and you know, the toys will stay silent. But can you? So, let's do a brief recap on how we got here. Love Island famously began in the UK in 2015, slowly but steadily becoming a celebrated annual cultural fixture across the pond. To give my credentials, I've only ever watched in real time, as in when the seasons were airing live, and I've watched Love Island UK seasons 8, 9, and 10, and Love Island USA seasons 3, 4, 6, and 7. But to speak to the USA seasons pre the incident, it was cute, it was chill. It was face value. I never voted or anything like that. It was calm and chill, passive filler content. UK was definitely stronger plot-wise at the time I started watching US, but US did have this edge to it. It knew it was an underdog, and in a way, that gave it more will. It knew how to pander to its audience because it was really like 7 of us watching for real. They gave us what we wanted. While Love Island UK set standards, beauty, romantic, and otherwise, as in the UK episode 1 matchups were always a sadistic cultural ritual of watching a black woman be humiliated, US seemed to challenge them. It needed the intrigue to even begin to compete with the Goliath that was its British sibling. Most notably to me was the casting of 2 dark-skinned women in the opening lineup of US Season 3. The first season I watched and the first time they did it, Trina and Chelley. That's what kept me watching. Chelley is the only woman I've ever seen on a dating show of this stature wear her natural hair in a low cut.
Everyone on Love Island, face, beat, wig, snatch. Like, I didn't have eyebrows. I didn't know how to do my makeup. I shaved head. I was called Little Bill on Twitter. And I was just kind of like, damn, I see the resemblance. But I was like, it's just, there's so many different types of beautiful. Like, I just chose the natural route, you know?
She was part of the starting lineup and stayed in the villa nearly to the end, 32 days. She didn't end up finding love on the show, but it didn't matter. She was a fan favorite. She had great energy, great vibes, and felt like a symbol of progress and inspiration to the audience, myself included. This was also the first time I'd seen 2 dark-skinned black women in the starting lineup of Love Island. And clearly, their producers took note, because they keep doing it every season. Love Island UK has obviously always had black people on the show, but often treats them as expendable or secondary. Kind of like, damn sure. US, I won't say celebrated us, but valued us. They recognized the value that we bring to the show because the producers had clearly discovered a long-kept sociological secret. Black women love reality TV, especially reality dating shows. I have absolutely no data to back this, and this is a side tangent, but in short, my theory is that as people who exist at the bottom of the hypothetical hierarchical privilege pole, black women just naturally become more attuned and furthermore fascinated by social dynamics. And honestly, fuck a source. Look at me. Look at this. Look at where we are. When misogyny and racism and for some colorism are all weighing down on you all at once, you become uniquely aware of their inner workings in a way even the people enacting that harm against you aren't usually cognizant of. It's basically the idea that to be a part of a marginalized class means you intrinsically have an understanding of the majority class that's opposing you. For example, gay people have an inherent understanding of the idiosyncrasies of straight culture, how it functions, what it requires of you, that straight people typically lack the other way around. It's also probably why I know a collection of lesbians completely enthralled in the straight antics of Love Island, but very few straight people who've watched an episode of something like The Queer Ultimatum on Netflix. Though to be fair, I know very few straight people in general. That being said, because it was like 7 of us watching for real, the moment those producers realized like 5 of us were black women, they locked the fuck in. And it worked. USA Season 5, they did it again with Zeta and Serenity, which leads us to the incident. Famously, Love Island USA Season 6 changed everything. It transformed the show from a cute, off-kilter knockoff into a cultural phenomenon that could stand on its own accord.
Just enjoy it. It feels like a party every day.
And my theory on why is it was true cinema, like real-life fan fiction. Onion peeling, male yearning, overalls, iconic one-liners, epic crash-outs, nearly scripted-worthy reconciliations, all held together by the power of friendship. And of course, fuck, Aaron! The breakout stars being PPG, short for Powerpuff Gang, Janae Craig, Leah Kateb, and that season's winner, Serena Page, as well as their respective boyfriends, and the only couples to survive in the outside world and to this day, Kenny, Miguel, and Cordell, colloquially known as PPGM. Leah Kateb holds the record as the most followed person ever to come out of the US franchise with over 4 million followers. Ironic in part because she hated being there for real. She absolutely did not have a good time on that show. No.
Liv and I were crying so hard, and they were like, hold on, cameras aren't rolling. Can you hold this? I get it. It's a TV show to you guys, but this is our real lives. This isn't funny. Yeah. We're not having fun right now.
Because they were trying to like shove me in a different direction away from Miguel, because I know like they thought that would be like the craziest reality TV moment. But I'm like, I'm a human being with like feelings. Yeah. Like I'm not like, this is crazy. Yeah. Like Kenny and Janae got letters from their parents from the words of affirmation date. Miguel and I were the only people who didn't get a lick of our family.
She's spoken vaguely about disingenuous producers, struggling with the feelings of isolation and judgment, and obviously the romantic antics of the men on her season. And notably, she was the first woman of Middle Eastern descent to be a part of the starting lineup on Love Island USA. I find it so interesting when people get all, why do you have to make it about race when it comes to Love Island? Because it's in the fabric The most significant difference, I would speculate, on the casting side between US and UK is that UK is doing DEI. It's very damn sure here you go vibes. They see the inclusion of women of color as a hindrance, and it can feel like pandering sometimes. I remember with the starting lineup of UK season 10, the audience got to pair the couples up and just match people up based on quite literally who looked the most similar. Blonde for blonde, light skin for light skin, dark skin for dark skin, which in a lot of ways I guess is natural because the audience literally had no idea who those people were at the time they were voting, so they just went off visuals. But nonetheless, it's typical. And the producers most likely had an inkling that that's what was going to happen and casted the starting lineup with that in mind. But US seems to use our culture's heightened racial awareness as an asset. In my humble opinion, it is not a coincidence that Huda, a half Palestinian, half Jordanian single mother from South Carolina, and the second Middle Eastern woman to ever be in the starting lineup of Love Island USA, was cast following the crowning of the People's Princess, Leah Kateb, alongside famously two dark-skinned black women, Olandria and Chelley. All this to say, season 6 is now the blueprint by which this show is written, and I think the producers finally achieved exactly what makes this show thrive. The people want a rom-com. We want book tropes. We want to believe the stuff of movies and TV shows can happen in real life. And thus, the sauce of this show is to isolate a group of hot strangers in a villa for a summer and make the girlies who grew up on Wattpad gag. JaNa represented the strong girl with a big heart who has it all going for her, but just can't catch a break in the love department.
You know, the ones that are big flirts, you gotta be careful with those. It's like playing with fire. But apparently I'm a Sagittarius, which is a fire sign, so we could play if you want to play.
Who meets Kenny, the soft, sensitive guy who yearns for her deeply and cries at the sight of her upset, finally giving her the security and support the audience knows she so deserves. Leah was the esoteric cool girl. She doesn't need a man, and she hates most.
Andre is like hot, like on paper he's hot, but then like when he's actually in front of you, like it's just like not doing it for me.
Then enters the stoic player bad boy who falls head over heels for her and transforms before our eyes into a total lover boy who only has eyes for her. This narrative low-key emerged after the show ended because the producers were really trying to push a will they won't they with Leah and Rob the whole season, but like, they didn't want to do that. And of course, our winners. Serena was the slow burner who's been hurt before and moves cautiously when it comes to love.
You listen to podcasts?
You know what? Not
like
really.
Men talking on the podcast? Mm.
So you got some podcasts in mind?
No, that was a test.
Enter Cordell, who's immediately enamored with her, but is fine going at her pace, despite the fact he's yearning bad, but she's keeping him at arm's length. As soon as she begins to fall, he folds.
It took you not even 24 hours to fucking fold. Fold like a fucking pretzel.
Proving to Serena that niggas ain't shit and she'll never love again. Until he has the comeback of a century, regaining her heart, her trust, $100,000, and a couple Savage X Fenty brand deal. Do you see what I'm saying? That's the sauce. That's what the audience wants to see. And they managed to do it not once, but 3 times in season 6. On top of the fact, our 3 leading ladies are all best friends. It's love, loss, betrayal, and beautiful reconciliation wrapped in a friendship magic-ass bow. Those 6 people made America believe in love again. But the question remained, looming over the impending 7th season, could they do it again? And the answer is no. Season 7 of Love Island USA has truly become a case study and a time capsule of dominant culture in the year of our Lord 2025. Not only on the show, but most notably, and what I'm more interested in, what we did with it. Like I said, I'm not really interested in adding my voice to the choir of hot takes about literally every single Islander. I will a little, because famously, I am a Libra, but that's not my point. I will touch on what happened, but I'm more interested in why it happened, what it means, and what we make of it. But let's look back, first and foremost, and synthesize the leading narratives that have emerged online regarding each Islander of note. No shade if your fave is missing. That's probably for the best, actually. I think there's no better place to start than everyone's favorite hurricane, Miss Huda.
What was the date? It was just like sitting down, like on the beach. My dream date. Cute. And he knows that.
Upon being announced, the response to Huda was mostly positive. People celebrated the mainstream representation of a Palestinian American, as well as found it interesting that famously, she's a mommy. Comparisons were drawn to Leah Kateb, and after the announcement of Chelley and Olandria, people were apt to see if a PPG kin would emerge. It did not. Quite the opposite, actually. Huda's time on the show has been defined by the rise and fall of her initial coupling with fellow starting lineup cast member Jeremiah Brown. They matched up on day 1, became the, quote, mom and dad of the group, and it appeared that Huda may have leaned in a bit too intensely, causing Jeremiah to pull back, leading to conflict, arguments, and eventually what is colloquially known as a crash out.
You're a pussy-ass bitch.
Stop. Huda, keep it classy.
Like, fuck you.
He is.
I sat there
He
listening
really
to everything
is.
they were
Fuck
saying.
him.
He's not even there.
Calling Jeremiah a bitch, shouting at him, generally causing scenes, and creating a tense vibe within the villa. Their contentious dynamic had her accused online of verbal abuse, being emotionally unstable, and even a narrative emerging that she has borderline personality disorder. While Jeremiah was accused both inside and outside of love bombing Huda and, quote, playing the game, an idea that someone has come on the show to win the money and garner fame, but is not interested in pursuing a genuine connection. And as soon as the smoke cleared, Jeremiah was sent home, in a move many speculated to be a power play at the hands of his frenemy Ace. And the girlies buckled up for Huda's redemption arc, to the displeasure of many who found her obnoxious and potentially too unstable to be on the show.
If Huda has one fan, it's me. If everybody's in a room and somebody's standing up for Huda, I'm in the room.
Propaganda I won't be falling for is the Huda redemption arc. I'm sorry, that girl has not redeemed herself in any way to me.
What we're not about to do is call everybody anti-black who doesn't agree with what the fuck Chelley did last night.
Did Huda display a slither of the emotional intelligence she claims to have? No, she's out of her motherfucking monkey mind.
I don't know where this imaginary grace Huda got. Maybe I missed it. I never saw any grace for Huda. Huda has been dragged.
He is 1000% emotionally abusive.
You just guys want to hate on Huda for no goddamn reason. As a black woman, I do not understand hating on other women of color for no good reason.
This is what I'm talking about with the fan fiction, real life rom-com observation. Huda is widely critiqued. She's a polarizing figure. Some people really strongly dislike her, but she is the most followed person of her season thus far, with 2.5 million followers as I'm writing this. A thick line in the sand has been drawn between Huda supporters and Huda naysayers that I find very interesting. Because none of us actually know this girl, right? As I've said many times, the discourses that emerge out of the media we consume are based on the fact we're turning real people into proxies. Huda is a vessel to have a cultural conversation about ethics. What do we excuse? What do we leave space for? And why? The camp of action should have consequences, she didn't behave appropriately on the show, and thus she shouldn't be celebrated to any extent, versus the camp of no one is perfect, she grew from her mistakes, and everyone deserves a second chance. Regardless of what camp you're in, I want to talk about why I think she's resonated so deeply and why those producers needed her in that damn villa. Because having abuse allegations weighed by the public against one of their islanders obviously isn't in their best interest. But while she could be unpredictable, and I'm sure hard to work with from a production standpoint, she had something a lot of the islanders didn't, or at least production didn't allow them to have. A narrative arc. Huda is the underdog. She brings story. It's a warped-ass hero's journey, if you squint. Essentially, rooting for her gives you something to root for, in a season pretty devoid of impactful connections. I think that's why she's resonating. Regardless of if you feel her crash out was justified, I feel like everyone understands the feeling of making a mistake, of being in the wrong, and of wanting to grow from it. There's something human there, and that is plot. And to put her in context with someone like Iris, who is chill, sweet, put together and nice, but I low-key forgot she was still there, not even gonna lie to you. Whether that's a narrative choice on the side of the producers, or she's just genuinely a chill-ass bitch, I don't know. But Iris doesn't really have an arc. They don't give her a lot of screen time. They couldn't find her storyline. They tried to do the, it was right in front of me, but I didn't see it thing with Pepe, but it just falls flat for me. It seems like she's just there to be there, and of course to serve cunty sad girl power realness. And there's nothing wrong with that. But just to put it in contrast to Huda, Chelley, one half of our season 7 black girl starting lineup, is an interesting case, because I also don't feel Chelley necessarily got an arc. But she is beloved. From jump, she was beloved. She's warm and open, and blessed be his name, bisexual. She feels earnest, and she's easy to root for just by nature of her open mind and genuine energy.
I'm Chelley, I'm 27, I'm a day trader, and I live in Queens, New York.
I get Chelley in a way y'all don't understand. Like, Chelley is just like me for real.
Her longest and most substantial connection has been with Ace. Ace is interesting. The narrative around him online paints him like a villain, but one you don't quite take seriously, like Megamind or Dr. Doofenshmirtz. Famously, he's somewhere between 5'5" and 5'10". The jury is still out, and a lot of the conversation around him paints him to be some sort of a Regina George-esque leader of the boys' camp, with Nick and Taylor as his henchmen. It's interesting because there's an understanding online that Ace can move funny, like there's something going on with Ace in the overcompensation or self-righteousness department. He's not widely hated though, because one, he does seem genuine in his connection with Chelley, and I think how the men treat the women and function romantically is of more concern to this particular audience than how the men interact with each other. And two, because he's a man. The main negative narrative around Chelley emerged when during a challenge, the challenges in this show are just being sexy and making out with each other for context. Huda allegedly, quote, took it too far when dancing on Ace.
Huda took it too far. You're supposed to be my friend. As my girl, that's some crazy shit.
Hear how she's turning around? She is positioning herself to do something more, and then suddenly it cuts and they're standing.
She took it way too far. If you don't think that production took out a lot of what we didn't see, y'all are nuts. One thing that Huda is going to do is step back into her midnight ballerina allegations world, whatever.
Huda claimed she didn't have a connection or interest in Ace and that it was just a challenge, which Chelley took offense to because whilst Huda was with Jeremiah, she made it very clear that she would feel a type of way if anyone had their way with him during a challenge, which Chelley respected. What worse in the situation was that Huda and Chelley were in a bit of a love triangle at the time with Chris, who was brought in by Huda during Casa Amor. For context, Casa Amor is basically where they split up the villa and have all the girls or all the boys go to a separate villa called Casa Amor and challenge the initial connections by introducing a brand new set of women and men respectively. Anyways, this was a move Huda saw as allowing both herself and Chelley to continue the connection with Chris, and Chelley viewed that as a bit snaky, claiming Huda should have just been more honest that she wanted Chris for herself. Huda tries to address the situation with Chelley. Chelley declines, they don't speak for a day or so, and then during a challenge where the Islanders are reading anonymous confessions about one another, they have it out in front of everybody. In a scene that read to me, and by Andreina's admission in an interview, may have been very intentionally edited to read, like a gang up on Huda.
The Jeremiah and you shit, you wanted loyalty and respect. You were so gracious for that we gave that to you, but you didn't extend that when you had the chance to do that. I would have much more respected that if you would have came to me and been like, Chelley,
and been honest about it.
Like, to take him for me and to explore that connection
Because
for you.
and I've expressed to you how many times, please continue to pursue Chelley. Please continue to pursue Chelley. I have not lied about that.
If you wanted her to continue to explore this connection and you value the sisterhood, I get that you don't kiss and tell, but do you mind telling the class?
What do you mean?
Tell the class what? That they kissed in the speakeasy.
Thus emerged the mean girl narrative. There is really nothing worse to be categorized on a reality TV show than a mean girl. The mean girl does not get grace. The mean girl is never having a bad day. The mean girl lacks nuance. The mean girl is evil. She's malicious. On this topic, I side with Love Island host Ariana Maddox, who during an episode of Aftersun stated that the audience doesn't give the Islanders time to resolve issues or let things evolve before choosing sides and demonizing people. But I believe the show leaned into it because it fueled Huda's redemption arc, which is the strongest part of the show at this point. In an interview post-exit with Vulture, Chelley stated she cried the most in the villa, which was just frankly not shown throughout the series. But there's a collection of segments of Huda in her bag, sulking alone. It definitely paints a picture. Regardless, Chelley was receiving a major hate train after that episode aired, and honestly, to this day. But by the next episode, the issue was resolved, so it's kind of like, what now? But again, I'll get there. Next up is what I'm sure a good portion of the population was waiting for, Miss Olandria. And by extension, NicOlandria.
How do you feel about me? Because I feel like I've told you I'm attracted to you.
No, you haven't.
I feel like I've said.
No, you keep picking me for challenges. I just assume you were. We never had that chat.
Olandria of starting Line of Fame initially coupled up with and spent a majority of the show pursuing Taylor. She loves a cowboy type, and he's a cowboy. He ends up dubbing her during Casa Amor for a Casa Amor bombshell named Clark.
I.P. Clark. I.P. Clark. I.P. Clark.
Leaving her single and heartbroken and presumably going home. But nah-uh. Because those Wattpad girlies were working, they Clarked in. They were determined to find a romance novel trop, and boy, oh boy, did they. And dare I say, it saved the season. NicOlandria is a ship that emerged based around the idea that Nick, who spent the majority of his time in the village coupled up with and pursuing week 1 bombshell Cierra, was actually secretly infatuated by Olandria, who notably was a close friend of Sierra's. When I first heard about NicOlandria around week 2, I was lost. I didn't notice that at all. I really give you guys props for even peeping that, because those edits genuinely hit like SSRIs. What started as a somewhat delusional online narrative amongst a niche group started to actually materialize. When during Casa Amor, in a very odd and illogical twist, the producers decided that if you couldn't find anyone to couple up with at Casa Amor, you'd be going home. Which essentially meant people with the strongest connections in the villa would be more vulnerable, which is counterintuitive to the whole point of the show, but I digress because they knew what the fuck they were doing, and it worked, leaving Nick and Olandria respectively eliminated. Only for it to be revealed there was a loophole if they wanted to couple up with one another and remain on the island. And so obviously, they did. And they saw it out. They kissed, boots, But both decided it was too complicated to pursue further because Nick was besties with Taylor and Olandria was besties with Sierra, and the pair decided they were better as friends, but the internet did not agree. It's also deeply notable that NicOlandria hype is not just Wattpad girlies, swirl stands, and internet sleuths. Olandria has a passionate and devoted community of white men who don't play about her, especially him.
People don't support Olandria anymore? Hello? She's been completely reasonable for the last 3-4 fucking weeks after getting fucked multiple.
Fantastic. It's one of the most popular and impassioned narratives surrounding the season. The Wattpad girlies were right. After Nick's partner leaves the villa, the two couple up, and after all the turmoil and the backtracking and the forbidden glances, they get their fairy tale ending. And it saved the season in the sense it's the only ship that really gave the audience what they wanted. Amaya and Brian are cute, but let's be for real, she's carrying. Chris and Huda, Rip, were cute, but he was more a plot point in her redemption arc than like her natural equal. And Iris and Pepe. But NicOlandria, it's literally so many tropes. Friends to lovers, slow burn, right person, wrong time, opposites attract, boy yearner. It's so everything. The way he looks at her when she's not even looking. Oh. Anyways. And I think it is somewhat perpetuated by this paradigm set by this series, where at least in UK, we've seen time and time again white men disregard and belittle black women as serious romantic prospects in this franchise. No one's saying that, but the underlying current is there. And it hinges on the fact that Nick at least appears to be far more comfortable speaking on his attraction and interest in Olandria, while she sits pretty like, yeah, it's a vibe, I don't know. That's the he likes her more trope. It simply has all the ingredients. It's addicting and fascinating to watch unfold. Like, we haven't gotten good shit like this since Lauren and Cameron circa 2019. Anyways, since I've officially mentioned the elephant in the room, let's unpack Sierra. Sierra Ortega was one of the first bombshells of the season. Her and Nick were the first couple to close off their connection, and she was a fan favorite in the early weeks.
Are you saying I'm your dream girl? Basically.
Up until the famed Mean Girls incident, where it appeared Sierra was laughing while Huda appeared in distress during the confessional challenge and also participating in the alleged gang up against her. The tides turned quickly on all of them, Chelley, Olandria, and Sierra, but the resurgence of an Instagram story Sierra posted in 2023 that included a racist anti-Asian slur quickly catapulted the discourse into the stratosphere. Lost was the Mean Girl narrative. Now we're talking about racism. And while there is still nothing worse to be labeled on reality TV than a mean girl, when you're labeled a racist mean girl, people can justify jumping you. And they did. I mean that in the sense that with a mean girl narrative, especially for someone like Sierra who wasn't getting a mean girl edit necessarily, her naysayers just typically didn't like her vibes. She'd been accused of having a Love Island themed birthday, having friends who were on the show, and just generally knowing how to play the game.
Sierra is someone who is not just a content creator. She is someone who is very media trained, and 2 years ago was so obsessed with Love Island, her best friend threw her a Love Island themed birthday party. That's how obsessed she is.
She doesn't have a personality. Like, I think she has one, but she's so perfectly curated for the show, or like she puts on a front on the show.
Your aesthetic, the way you dress is not the way you're acting. So that's how I know you're fucking fake.
Some people found her fake, not genuine. So when the racist screenshot emerged, it was a whole different ballpark. Now, and this is a hot take potentially, and I in no way mean to be dismissive of the impact of the slur use and the feelings of those it's used to dehumanize. Slurs are wrong. She absolutely should have been removed from the show, and she absolutely deserved to be publicly ridiculed for using it. I just want to dig a little deeper here. In the post, she's referencing getting Botox to adjust her eye shape and uses the slur to speak negatively about her eye shape. In her infamous Empathy Sweater Jade Necklace apology video, she claims she didn't know it was a slur.
I had no idea that the word held as much pain, as much harm, and came with the history that it did, or I never would have used it.
Which don't make no sense to me when you really cock your head and look at what was said. Because what she's implying in the screenshot is that she doesn't like her eye shape, and she uses that term to describe her eyes. So she has an idea of what shape she's referencing, as well as presumably what community that eye shape is typically associated with. So sure, maybe she didn't know it was a slur, but for her to be using that word in that way, she knew what it meant. She knew what she was implying. Regardless of if she knew it was a slur, that's still racist. I feel like what I really got from that apology video was, damn, I didn't know it was that deep. I didn't know it held historical weight. I didn't know people actually took it that serious. My bad, I'm educated now. But imagine she hadn't used the slur and had posted the same thing without it. The context is as much a part of the issue as the slur usage, and I feel like she does not acknowledge that in the apology. She's responding to the outrage in a very PR way, without actually looking inward and asking, why don't I like my eyes? Why do I, Sierra Ortega, find that eye shape undesirable? And I don't think that's something she should have literally included in the apology video, but not acknowledging the context at all felt off for me. It keeps it surface level, like the slur is the end-all be-all without actually talking about the actual racist ideology she perpetuated. I didn't know the significance of that word, yeah sure, but what you were saying was still bizarre and racist as fuck, in a way you had to have known to even be using the word in the first place. But I digress. That being said, I haven't seen anyone online say that, because for the most part, this was not a conversation actually about racism, like the real multifaceted institution of racism. For a lot of people, this was about denigration, hate trains, the addiction to watching someone topple. This is where the hot take may come in, but slurred discourse kind of loses me a lot of the time, because the way we talk about it online can become so vapid, hypocritical, and unproductive. Because for one, who the fuck is Cierra Ortega?
At the end of the day, I think we just need to move on from this situation. Racism is so much bigger than Cierra Ortega from Love Island. She's definitely had consequences for her actions now. You know, being kicked out of the villa, losing her man, probably feeling the backlash through brand partnerships.
Her saying holding space for slur was a lot. Same with the empath sweatshirt and the Jade Buddha. But like, that is Cierra. She's gonna give a lot, always. Like, she's a calculator. She's giving us calculus, baby.
The level of hate she's getting is actually insane.
The ice and the death threat, bro, that's nuts.
Really, what does it mean in a larger societal context that Cierra Ortega used a slur? Again, not justifying it, not defending her, but the propensity to dogpile this random reality TV contestant off the backs of actual intergenerational trauma experienced by the Asian community feels dishonest. Personally, I'm not convinced a majority of the non-Asian people who tapped into this discourse actually genuinely care about anti-Asian racism. It is very easy to wipe your hands and say, yeah, I don't fuck with slurs, without doing any of the actual inner work and cognitive thinking to understand this type of bias or bigotry does not start and end with Cierra Ortega from Love Island USA Season 7. Maybe you wouldn't or haven't actually used that slur, but do you or have you held similar sentiments to what she expressed in that post? How do you feel about or interact with people who have slimmer eyes or darker skin or different textured hair? The slur discourse of it all feels like a cop-out, not just for Cierra, but for a lot of y'all. I just feel like it's a lazy way to engage with racism. And on top of that, Yelissa, who was in the starting lineup of Season 7, who was pulled after legitimately the first episode, after videos of her resurfaced saying the N-word, and there was outrage, but not like this. This was news. This was headline worthy. The reason people were calling fucking ICE on Cierra's family, which in and of itself is fucking racist, mind you, is because we consumed her. We watched her story, love her or hate her, you invested in her, and there's a fascination to watching her fall. Evidenced by the fact, this shit did not happen to Yelissa. Cierra's cancellation is part of the show.
Why is no one talking about Cierra's racist posts?
Bam! I watched that video, I'm gagged.
I'm so sorry. I'm gonna have to give a shout out to whoever found those receipts of Cierra being racist because one, good, she didn't deserve to be in there after all that, being disrespectful to the Asian community. But on another agenda, that was really convenient for our NicOlandria plot. I'm so sorry. That was really convenient for our NicOlandria plot. You really ate with that.
Let's circle back to Huda, Chelley, and Olandria. After leaving the villa, essentially two camps have formed. The Huda was bullied by Chelley and Olandria, Hive, or Huda defenders, and the y'all will find any reason to bully and villainize black women and exonerate a paler woman Hive or Chelley and Olandria defenders.
How are we supposed to grow as humans? How are we supposed to be better people if instead of letting our people that we care about, or obviously y'all care about Chelley and Olandria, right? If y'all really cared, y'all would be like, hey, in a nice manner, what you did was wrong.
This form of double standard isolation is exactly what someone like Huda wants. They want the other person to be completely detached from anyone that would say, what you're going through is wrong. You need to leave. You need to call them out. You need to hold them accountable. They don't want that. They want you to live in their delusion with them.
So it's a problem when Huda does it, but when every other bitch in the villa does it, it's all cool. It's fine. It's just a challenge. But the second Huda gets nitty gritty, it's, you're supposed to be my friend. Fuck you.
Huda is a manipulative person. One, she keeps also saying how like emotionally mature she is, and she literally is the opposite. She's actually so emotionally immature that it's shocking that she would even say that.
Oh my god, like she's literally manipulating people. Also, let me just put this on the side. Huda is a woman of color. Just because she's not black doesn't mean that she's white. I don't know why people always view race as a binary.
Now, sigh. This also may be a hot take, but this shit exhausts me. Because whenever shit like this happens online, to me, it always appears like an iceberg. At the tip, we have some interpersonal issue that happened on Love Island between 3 women. And at the bottom, we have an encyclopedia of deeply nuanced, sensitive, and complicated societal woes that are at the heart of what we're using these people's real lives to discuss as a broader society. For example, being, quote, a girl's girl, the villainization of black women, the villainization of Middle Eastern women. Then a conversation about white women tears emerged when Huda cried after Chelley decided she didn't want to speak to her after she did too much with Ace, which spiraled into a conversation about Middle Eastern people's proximity to whiteness. Then there were more explicitly racist posts made by fans, if you can call them that, including allegedly a graphic of George Floyd with Olandria's face over his and Huda's face over his murderer Derek Chauvin's. Posts emerged of people calling Huda a terrorist and hoping her family is bombed. And these are just a few examples, but the amount of narratives and discourses that have emerged are seemingly never ending, consuming all my timelines, and subsequently taking years off my life. My 2 cents is that regardless of how you feel about either party, this has all gone ridiculously out of hand. We obviously don't have the full picture of the situation, and we most likely never will, because this is a reality TV show on Peacock.com. And people's propensity to condemn, demonize, and project onto these women has become deeply toxic and altogether unproductive. Because, like, what now? Are we going to have an open forum to have these issues out? They're not going to address any of this deeper shit at the reunion. It's just going to exist in the ether, continue to spiral, and not actually change anything. Hey, so, Bitnia from the future here. So I shot this about 2 weeks ago, and such is life and the Love Island cinematic universe that literally so much shit has hit the fan since then that I knew I'd be remiss not to mention, especially since this video ended up putting such an emphasis on the racial dynamics of Love Island. So let's talk about JaNa and Kenny. If you don't know, which I really don't know how you could miss it, JaNa, season 6 finalist of Love Island USA, and her boyfriend, who she met on the show, Kenny, have had an incredibly tumultuous and public breakup this July. One night, JaNa and Kenny are posting each other at David Dobrik's fucking birthday party for some reason, and then the next morning, all of a sudden, Kenny is fully cleared from JaNa's page, she's unfollowed him. Then people notice Serena and Leah, the respective other members of PPG, have unfollowed him as well. Then their boyfriends, Cordell and Miguel. Then mutual friends from the season, Kaylor, Kendall, Liv. People who presumably wouldn't publicly pick a side if it were to be, say, a cheating scandal. Because cheating was naturally everyone's first instinct. The fact that a wave of mutuals began unfollowing Kenny all at once, especially right after they were publicly seen together, led us to what Twitter speculated may be one of America's greatest unsolved mysteries. What did Kenny do? 2 days later, JaNa released a statement on her Instagram story thanking her followers for their support and confirming she'd seen all the breakup rumors, but none compared to how disgusting and disappointing it truly was. A short time later, Kenny posted a statement to his Instagram story stating, "Sometimes, despite how deeply you care for someone, you come to the hard truth that the relationship is not something that could last long term." So already this is some shit, because clearly something happened. They were posted up, slow dancing at David Dobrik's fucking mansion literally hours before she unfollowed him and cleared him from her page. Plus his narrative of, "We tried but it didn't work," directly contradicted her clearly insinuating that something happened. I watched all of this happen in real time, mind you, and I was refreshing Reddit boots. Some may call me jobless, but this in fact is my job. Screenshots start pouring in. Leah comments under one of Kenny's posts with Miguel saying, "Take my man off your page, you clout demon." So we got the clout chasing allegations. Serena comments that Kenny is racist and a narcissist, and it starts clicking. Leah, Kaylor, and Liv, all fellow contestants on season 6, made their own story post statements praising JaNa's character and condemning Kenny. Leah stating, "Racist, clout chaser, and a scammer since day one." But with the release of these 2 statements, one from an unverified source, but that was posted prior to any of the claims of racism made by the cast in their Instagram stories, stating that JaNa went through Kenny's phone and found text messages of him calling her the N-word in a group chat with his friends. And the nail in the coffin was the post by JaNa's best friend, Charmaine, where she stated, "My advice for women in relationships, go through your man's phone today. Search for keywords like, I don't like black women, I thought I would get more money than this, I'm faking this relationship for clout, I can't wait to be done with this so I can fuck hella bitches." This was super meta to watch unfold while working on this video because, like, I draw this parallel between the US and the UK and the way race, and particularly blackness, functions within it. JaNa and Kenny were the people's Princess Tiana and Prince Naveen. As I emphasized earlier, what they represented as a couple resonated with millions, and seeing a black woman win was definitely a part of that. And the idea that Kenny was aware of this paradigm and willingly played on it, attaching himself to JaNa to present himself as an extension of the parasocial relief millions of women, particularly black women, projected onto them, just to turn around and be racist behind her back the whole goddamn time, is despicable. Truly. People have pointed out the contrast in the racial dynamics present here as opposed to the UK. Circling back to the point I made earlier about how race functions differently in the US and in the UK Evilest. Whitney and Locken, who coupled up on Love Island UK season 10 and stayed together, for about 2 years and broke up almost a year ago, have been simultaneously going through a similarly public falling out. Whitney posted a TikTok with the text, finally falling in love with the skin he called dirty.
We were walking back from lunch, going back to his place, and I was in the sun, and I was like, babe, look how my skin glistens in the sun. And he looked at me and he was like, ugh, it's dirty.
Lock-In responded with a 5-minute video denying the allegations.
She got her nails done and she, annoyingly put her nails in my face and was like, oh, my hands are so clean. My hands are so clean, yours aren't. And I was like, no, they're not. And, I was kind of just annoyed her hands were in my face, but it was a very off-the-cuff remark. I just said, no, they're not.
Really similar themes between two interracial couples featuring a mixed man and a black woman from the same reality TV franchise. The main difference? Whitney is being slandered and dragged, and JaNa has been sent so much PR it could register as a small country. Flowers, handwritten letters from brands she's worked with. The outpouring of love for JaNa has been absolutely beautiful to see, but starkly contrasts Whitney's treatment across the pond. All this to say, the racial dynamics are so ingrained in the fabric of the show, we may begin to see a theme of contestants preying on that. Preying on flipping the script of black girls never get a happy ending on this show, and then having men step in and play that part for their own personal gain. And using that sentiment to further dehumanize black women on the show whilst also profiting off of the black women watching. Nonetheless, let's briefly run through all of the other Love Island shit-hitting fan events of the weeks since the show literally stopped airing. Amaya was exposed for liking and reposting colorist and pro-Trump content. Huda started dating this guy Lewis. I don't fucking know anymore. And all of PPG and PPGM unfollowed him after some people spun a narrative that Leah hates Huda, which Leah and Miguel both made statements denying. Cierra released her own 40-minute debrief TikTok series on her time in the villa because no one wanted to interview her.
Coming off of the show has been a whirlwind, to say the least.
And then Andreina posted a photo out with Chelley and Cierra, prompting discourse about co-signing racist people.
The first thing that you do when you get back to the internet is go link up with Cierra.
Then Zach, one of the Casa Amor boys, made a statement in Cierra's defense.
Oh, she's just a girl trying to learn from her mistakes.
Guys, I'm exhausted. Oh my god. Who all is tired? Who all is tired? My point is, there are valid human reasons to be invested in all of these things. They are compelling to discuss and dissect and pick apart, but nonetheless, to what end? So what do we make of this? We all tapped in, making this one of the biggest seasons of Love Island USA ever. But we have to ask ourselves, why? For me, it's because I love love. I bought into this consumerist fairy tale because it gives me hope. It gives me something to believe in. But such is life. There is no safe haven from the socio-political realities of our world, and the Love Island team has no interest in challenging that status quo until it hurts their pockets, first and foremost. And on the topic of money, I find the emerging trend where people are doing PR brand deals I would do for each Islander totally, completely fascinating.
Brands I think each Love Islander should collaborate with when they leave the villa pre-Casa Amor. Adrena, Poly, through and through. I think it'd be really cool for Iris to come out either with her own self-tanner or partner with like Loving Tan, maybe Bondi Sand.
One conversation that's been really present during Love Island Season 7 is how marketable all of these Islanders are, and specifically what brands should partner with which Islanders.
Listen, I've been on the internet far too long, and I remember early 2013, early YouTube, where YouTubers would literally get hate and semi-canceled for doing brand deals. It was ingenuine, it was greedy. To be at a point culturally where people are excited to be marketed to, hungry for it even. Black Mirror. But it's because, again, it's part of the show. Which brings me to my central thesis that the reason all of this happened is because by virtue of Season 6's excellence, we bought in. This show has become a foundational text for aspirational culture in dating and in lifestyle in the US. And because of that, these Islanders are essentially martyrs. They are the fabric from which we, as a dominant culture subgroup, decide what is love bombing, what is being a girl's girl, what do we do when people say slurs. Evidenced by the fact so much of the context of the show doesn't even happen on the show. We want to see our faves rewarded and we want to see our ops fall. And at the end of the day, I need people to sit down with the fact it's not because Huda is a completely evil person or Chelley or Olandria are irredeemable, terrible, mean bullies. It's because of you. Your camp, your side of the aisle, who you love, who you hate, and how you express that and why. It's because of you, your life, your experiences, your exes, your ops. And that is true for every single person watching this fucking show.
If you've met a Huda or you know a Huda in your life, you know that they will milk their trauma until the day that they die.
I know so many girls like Cierra, and they piss me off. They're the trendiest ones. They're the ones that are always on top of the hottest items type of thing, but they're the worst fucking people alive.
And the people who defend Huda, you're either just like her
and this is you're looking at yourself in the mirror on TV, or you've never had a friend like her. Because I promise you, there's only so much you can take with a self-centered friend.
Y'all are going as far as to say that Huda defenders voted for Trump. Do you know how delusional you gotta be?
Like, my homegirls that are my core were on the side of Chelley and Olandria. It's like, it's validating the reason why I have been friends with these ladies for 10+ years.
The idea of having widespread cultural conversations in the way we did with this season of Love Island is valuable. It's fascinating. It's important in a lot of ways, but I feel it lacks cognizance around the fact that that is what we're doing. There is no objective truth. There will be no consensus. No one is going to win this. We are all just projecting outward the version of the world we'd like to live in, one that makes us feel seen, one that makes us feel safe, and denigrating total strangers who contradict our ideas. But your issue isn't with these islanders, not in an honest and tangible way. Our issues are with each other and the contradicting things these islanders represent to each of us. This is not to be dismissive of the very real issues being discussed. There's a lot of validity to talking about the things we're talking about, and I'm honestly really glad to be seeing a lot of this stuff brought up. But at the end of the day, that's what this is. A conversation. These are not politicians, these are reality TV contestants. The real world impact of these people's actions will be minimal, outside of, honestly, how we, the general public, perceive and respond to their actions in our actual lives. But they've done what they came to do. They flew to Fiji, they spit in each other's mouths, and other influencers. That's all it is. And I'm sure more will continue to unravel as we enter postseason press and the Islanders become more acquainted with the real world and their newfound fame. 100%. But for what? To what ends? We're just gonna do it all again next year anyways. My advice typically in situations like this is to engage in online discourse if it seems productive to that person's growth or the growth of others. But in this case, I'd recommend looking inward before commenting. Ask yourself why you're doing it. What do you want the outcome to be? What is this doing for you? Or if genuinely it's trying to hold someone accountable or express an objective grievance, ask yourself, what do you want to be done about it? How productive is this? And if you don't want to do that work so real, just scroll. Thanks so much for watching. If this is your first time on my channel, thanks so much for being here. I do typically queer-centered cultural analysis video essays and also have a podcast called Glass Closet where I interview cool gay people in New York. I'm super into dialogue and feedback and conversation, so please hit those comments. As mind-numbing as all the discourse has been, it's already taken my soul, so I'll double down. Regardless, I'd love to expand on the internet's Evilest series, and I have some other fun projects in the works, including a Patreon, where I'm going to blog and review queer and lesbian events in New York City, get a little more tea, a little more personal with y'all. So stay tuned, and if God forbid you like the way my brain works, please consider subscribing, and if you don't, well, luckily, I want to snark Reddit so bad.